It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, my friends? Welcome on into another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen on the week of October the 23rd, 2024. This week's edition of the program, Mr. Dalton Hopkins, he's going to join us. We're going to dive into everything Las Vegas. The first of the four championship contenders was crowned in Sin City, so we're going to dive into the playoff bubble as well as talk a plethora of different things. But first, let's dive on into my interview that I conducted on a Saturday morning with the crew chief of the number 48 car for the Xfinity Series, that being Mr. Patrick Donahue.
Now it's time for
The crew chief for Parker Kligerman, Patrick Donahue,
To Go Into the Inferno with Bryan.
Right now, folks, at this time, going to bring in the program. He's the crew chief for Parker Kligerman. Patrick Donahue joins the program. When I was thinking about doing this interview a week ago, I thought you guys were going to be in a much better spot. Unfortunately, you're not. Have you revisited that? Have you looked it over? What's this past week been like for you guys?
No, when we left Charlotte, I was pretty at peace of mind with it. We had spoken with NASCAR, and then and once you look at all the video and all the pictures and all that, you know the way it went down, they handled it correctly, and then had some meetings this week at the racetrack, and everybody's stated their case, and so it's done and over with. We moved on. We had a good day, and it just didn't finish well, but we did everything we needed to do last Saturday. But it's over and done with, and we're here in Vegas.
I want to go back all the way to when you and Parker first started. I think, what 2 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
Just what was that like? Did you know of him beforehand? Obviously, you didn't work with him beforehand, but what was that like? And then how has your relationship grown, not just at the racetrack, but also off the racetrack as well?
So, 3 years ago, Parker drove for us at Talladega, and that was the first opportunity for any of us here at the 48 car to really know him, and came in there, did a great job for us, and we decided that was our guy. And then I didn't know Parker at all, and we just started the season, and he had to learn how we did things on the race team, systems wise, and then he brought in things that he had done in the past, and then we just kind of built off that last year. Had a good year. We were in position many times to win races, and then this year we've gotten better. We've got more stage points. We've run up front. We just haven't been able to close the deal. We've grown a whole lot in the last 24 months, and put ourselves in a much better position. We've qualified for the playoffs, obviously, both years. Got the owner's side in this year, which was a big deal to me to get that done. And so yeah, we've just we just grown and worked together, systems-wise, procedures-wise. What makes him go fast, and what doesn't he like? So those are the big things.
You see all the love that Parker got last week. What is that like for you as a crew chief? I mean, you're with him every single week, basically. What is that like when you're seeing your driver, obviously not the result you wanted, but him getting recognition from everybody in the garage area?
Well, he handled it like a professional. He drove the race of his life, and he did everything right. But he got out and he handled it very well. Everybody from NASCAR on down has had positive things to say, and like I said, he handled it like a professional, like an adult, and I wouldn't expect anything less.
Going back to that unfortunate thing that happened, you said you talked to NASCAR. Can they do anything differently? Obviously, we all know that they could have hit the button sooner. Do you think that will change heading into 2025?
Look, it's a ball and strike call. We're in a live motorsports. Things happen. It's no different than an umpire at home plate, right? The calls are made, and it is what it is. Can they do it differently? Absolutely. And that's just really what it is. There are no replays. There are no takebacks. There's no instant replay that we can throw the red flag and say, hey, but it happens. It's maybe once in a 5-year period, something like that's going to happen, and they learn from it, and so do we.
Looking ahead to the Final Four races, it feels like, especially in the past couple of races, you guys have found a lot of speed. What more do you need in these Final Four to take that next step and contend for that win that Parker's been wanting?
We need to really fire off better at the start of these races. We usually, over the last 2 years, the last stage of the race is our best speed. That's when we run our best lap times. So we've worked hard this year to be better at the start. Our stage points have shown that we've been better. I think the answer is just to have a stronger start the first 2 stages, and then be able to build off that as the race goes on.
It's such a long season, Patrick. I mean, you guys are on the road. I mean, it's not as bad as a Cup schedule, but you guys are on the road from February to November. Mm-hmm. How do you guys, not just you personally and Parker, but your crew guys, I mean, even your PR guy, how do you guys not get burnt out?
Well, for me, I've done this my entire life, and so I learned from some really smart, organized people over the years. We in welcome at the shop, I try to stay 2 weeks ahead on our equipment. We have a good group of guys. There's 10 of us total at the shop, and I try to get the guys out of there at a decent hour. We get the truck on the road every Wednesday at a decent hour. You get the guys time off when they can, and then try to get them so they can go home and watch football and baseball games with their kids. If they got doctor's appointments with kids, try to do anything like that to make it better for them. Like I said, when I went cup racing, I was gone 36 weekends a year, plus we tested every other week, and we worked 7 days a week. It's not like that anymore, and so I try to, like I said, get the guys out of there at a decent hour, give them their days off, and we try to stay far enough ahead, planning wise, race car wise, setup wise, to so that we're not last minuting our decisions and our preparation, and that's just kind of how I've learned to do it.
You mentioned you've been doing this your entire life. For next year, will you be here in 2025 with this team? What does the future hold for you personally?
Yeah, this is my home. I started this thing from nothing, and Scott and I have a vision to get a championship. Obviously, win races. We're getting closer by the day, and we really want to contend every week. We have a real strong road race program. Obviously, our speedway program is very strong. We're working on the intermediates and the short tracks. We got an exciting driver with Nick coming up, and he drove for us 3 years ago. And then we're just gonna keep building, keep fighting. We'll take the whole winter and restock and rebuild, refresh. We got a few things to update on all the cars, rule changes. But we've already started that process. There's really no off season. By the time we go to Christmas, our speedway stuff and road course stuff will be probably ready to go to Daytona and COTA. We have a test coming up in January, so we'll be down at Rockingham. It looks like to do a test down there. So yeah, we don't really stop. We have a couple days off. We take some time off for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but there's always rebuilding equipment, freshening up truck and trailer, and then, like I said, all the race cars get stripped and updated. So we got a big list of stuff to do that we start a couple weeks ago. Actually, as the cars are done, we're cycled out, and then we go back to work.
4 races left for Patrick Donahue to try and get Parker Klickerman a victory here in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Thank you.
Once again, that was the crew chief of the number 48 car, Mr. Patrick Donahue. Big thanks to Big Machine Racing and Paul Williams for coordinating that interview. One of the best in setting up interviews. So big thanks to Paul for that. Let's dive on into what is still hot with all the latest news and notes of the weekend.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
Alrighty, I'm going to bring in my co-host at this time. He was in Las Vegas to cover the race with me for his first race back since serving our country, which we thank him for his service at pit lane. captain, CPT, once again, pit lane CPT, Mr. Dalton Hopkins. Did you recover from your red-eye flight that I booked you on, my friend? Once again, I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad you are all standing on your 2 feet and you're ready to go for night. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'll be honest. The first time you told me it was gonna be a red eye flight back, I was like, whatever, not a big deal. I can take that. And then once it got around to around 11:30, which my time is 2:30 in the morning, I realized I was like, you know what, Bryan Nolen, man, I got some choice words for that guy right now.
They're
that guy.
They were talking about they were talking about red eyes on Pardon My Take, the podcast from Barstool, and Big Cat was like, a red eye is great in theory until you get to the airport and you're just so tired, and then you try and go to sleep, but something interrupts you, and then you try and go to sleep and something interrupts you, and then you're just running on adrenaline until you actually land.
You know what was even worse is that you booked me a middle seat.
Did I really?
Yes, it was a middle. I mean, maybe you didn't do it. It just kind of did it automatically, but I got a middle seat. So it's like that was like a 6-hour flight, I want to say.
Hold on. We're gonna go.
Might have been 3.5 hours, something like that.
We're gonna go behind the curtain right now, folks. I'm going to my emails and I'm gonna see if the seat selection was.
If it wasn't seat selection, I don't blame you.
Let me check here. Hold on. Gonna go.
Because I was like hanging my head over, like after a while, just trying to go to sleep as much as I could. But that was rough. I got about maybe an hour on the flight. So
Las Vegas, Dalton Hopkins. No seats selected. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there you go. So you're not guilty.
Okay.
This time.
This time. I mean, usually I try and book seats, but sometimes when I book them, it just goes, "We cannot process your seats. Please try again later." I'm like, oh, crap. And then I don't. So, so that one wasn't my bad. So we're okay there.
It's honestly not my first red eye flight. I don't think it was the worst one I could say. The one coming back from overseas was arguably a bit worse. But that Monday though, I'll tell you what, I got picked up by my girlfriend and went into my room and just passed out like the entire day. So I caught up on sleep. I'm good to go now.
I bet. One person that also is happy, and I don't think it's for the lack of sleep. I think it's for this guy got an extra win in his win column. Bobby Allison. NASCAR officials awarded Bobby Allison his 85th Cup victory for winning Bowman Gray in 1971. Now, I remember a story that Michael Massey did on either it was Fire on Fridays or just a commentary about this, and he was lobbying really hard for it. And finally, NASCAR today again announced its recognition of Bobby Allison as he took sole possession of 4th place on the all-time Cup Series wins list with 85 wins. Dalton, I this is going to sound morbid, but I'm glad they did this before he died, because it feels like whenever we honor someone or we celebrate someone, it's when they pass away. And it reminds me of like Franco Harris when the Pittsburgh Steelers were about to just celebrate him. He died like 2 days before the ceremony, and I'm glad that NASCAR took the initiative and did it before Bobby Allison eventually does pass away. I mean, he is 85, and I don't wish that upon anyone, premature death, but it will happen. That is life. But I'm glad that NASCAR took the initiative in doing this.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. I think there's quite a few races that are hotly debated that occurred way back in the 60s and 70s, because back then, of course, races in the 50s, but that's because races back then were just ran by the local dudes, and it was guys tagging laps with pencil and paper. It wasn't the electronic. We don't have the technology that we do today, so there's a lot of highly debated ones. I'm glad that they finally decided to give one to Bobby. I feel bad for Jimmy Johnson though, because they moved the goalposts for him. Now he's got to win. What is it? Now he's got to win 2 races, or no, he's got to win 3 races in order to get ahead of Bobby if he wants to get 4th place. So that's gonna be tough. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really see that happening, but I agree. I'm really glad that Bobby got to witness that before in his lifetime while he was still around, and he knows that he can rest easy, and that's no longer on his consciousness, and now he can say, I am 4th highest in NASCAR all-time wins, and I don't really see anybody getting that close anytime soon. So I think it's a great job by NASCAR. And I hope it's not the first. I hope it's not the last one. I hope there's more investigations and more study going on in past races and who truly won which race.
Yeah, I think that this could start. This could be the start of a live or a large in-depth dive into races that you said in the 60s and 70s where it was a little bit skeptical. So I'm pumped to potentially have that happen. One thing that is not skeptical though, Dalton, see that segue? That's a good segue.
Wonderful.
Right there. Thank you, brother.
Pat on the back.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. That is Joey Logano's birth into the championship 4. I mean, what a wild turn of events in 1 week's time, Dalton, from not even being in the playoffs to competing for a championship in Phoenix in just 3 weeks, or in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks from this upcoming Sunday, like 2.5 weeks. But he clinched his spot in the championship 4. He surpassed, or he outlasted Christopher Bell. Bell had fresher tires, more fuel. Logano had to save fuel in a dramatic, thrilling end. And he clinched his spot in the championship 4. The 4 below the cut line, that will be Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott, 27-30, 47-53 points below, respectively. Before we dive into below the championship race cutoff, Dalton, how big was this for Joey Logano?
It was huge. I mean, look, obviously, right? But we talked about this. We talked about this on the front stretch. No pun intended.
Hey.
Of Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We were doing our post race conversations video for YouTube, which is now available to be viewed on frontstretch.com on our front stretch on YouTube, but our YouTube page. But this is never ever count out even year Joey Logano. I mean, this is what a really interesting story, and I feel bad because I don't think this is going to be remembered in a few years. People aren't going to remember that Joey Logano was initially out of the round of 8, and then he just got put back in. People, if he does win the championship, or if he goes into nowadays in the Final Four, people will look back at this Final Four roster and be like, "Oh yeah, Joey Logano was in there." So this is a really big deal for this team, though. And I also think it's a testament to show how good Joey Logano is at being a clutch driver. We were talking about it last night in our happy hour podcast, and Joey is arguably the best clutch driver in NASCAR. I don't think there's a better one. When he needs to win or when he needs to perform, he will show up and perform or win. And that's, he's got a lot of thanks to give this past weekend, thanks to Big Ball Paul Wolf, as he is now dubbed. But it's a huge deal for this team. And here I was thinking that, last week I was thinking Penske's not going to be in the Final Four this year, or Ford might not even be in the Final Four this year. And now here we are, first week in the round of 8, and Joey Logano is in. So a great story, I think. And it's a testament to how good of a driver Joey Logano is when he needs to be.
Last but not least on the What Is Still Hot segment, the 4 beyond the cut line, 27-30, 47-54, 53. I think, actually, I'm just going to straight up ask you, can anyone make it from there on points, or does all 4 have to win?
They got to win.
Okay.
If you ask me, I know mathematically it's still possible, but I think they got to win. I don't see, because if it was the round of 16, I would say there's still a chance, because you have a chance of a lot of drivers to make mistakes, and that's the top 16 guys, right? There are guys in there that aren't performing every week, and there's a chance for them to make mistakes. We're in the round of 8 now. And these are the best 8 guys in the field. And I really do believe that. I don't think there's any flukes here in this round of 8 field, despite what people might be saying about Joey Logano right now. And I'm sure we'll get to that later. But these are the 8 best guys. These guys don't make mistakes. Joey Logano is already locked in, so no worries there. Christopher Bell hasn't made a mistake at all in the entire playoffs so far. Kyle Larson is Kyle Larson. William Byron has also been very quietly good. So I think if you're going to get yourself in, you gotta win. You gotta win a race. And that's the nature of the round of 8, is that you really can't rely on points anymore. And nor should you. Nor should you from the beginning, honestly. You should just be going out there to win. Thankfully, Homestead is going to be good for some of these guys in the bottom 4. I'm looking at Tyler Reddick specifically. I'm also looking at Denny Hamlin. Martinsville, Ryan Blaney's won there before. Chase Elliott's won there before. Denny Hamlin has certainly won there before. So there's opportunities for some wins, but they got to be the top 4 to do it, and that's going to be tough because those guys are very, very, very good.
Let's dive on into our soundbite of the week, where we talk the latest soundbite from this past weekend.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track races.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
Martin, can you talk about that incident between the 9 and the 45?
Yeah, I was on the bottom, coming off 4 there. Thought we were too wide. Spotter said leave a lane, so I'm not sure. We were kind of close together, and the 9 lifted all suddenly. So I'm not really sure what happened. I feel like I didn't know they were 3 wide till late, but still felt like there was plenty of room, and the 9, I think, jumped out of the gas. So I'm not really sure what happened, but yeah, that's about it.
Do you talk to them?
I don't know. Did I do something wrong?
Well,
you're talking to me like I did.
No, well, they were upset. They were saying on the radio that you were.
My spotter told me I didn't do anything wrong, so I'd have to go look at it.
Gotcha. Thanks, Martin.
Once again, that was Martin Truex Jr. Dalton Hopkins spoke with him. Just a really weird wreck, and I think it was a little bit of all parties involved were at fault. I mean, Truex Jr. said, you talked with Truex, and we heard it right there. It's just such a really, really weird wreck, Dalton.
A weird wreck on how it started, weird wreck on how it ended, and weird on how many top guys it took out. It's very uncharacteristic of what we see at Las Vegas or really any 1.5 mile track. And I'll tell you what, very uncharacteristic of Martin Truex Jr. The guy is 3 races away from retiring full time. You could tell with the way he was speaking, he was frustrated. I don't think at first he believed that he was at fault. I truly do believe that. And I think, but then again, he hadn't seen the replay, and he was told that he did nothing wrong by his spotter. But, every spotter is going to tell their driver that, right? No one's going to say, oh, yeah, man, you totally caused that. So, but I think that it's such an oddity for Martin to be put in that position. I also believe that Tyler Reddick was up there high, and maybe he shouldn't have been that far up there. Martin put the blame on, or it seemed like he kind of put the blame on Chase Elliott, saying that he got out of the gas. I don't really know. There is such a thing as called racing deals, and us race fans, or us, those in the racing industry, we use that terminology when we say there's really no one's fault. That's just how it is. That's just how racing is when you're racing hard for a win. And I feel like it is kind of one of those situations. It's really unfortunate with how it turned out, but Tyler Reddick went for quite a ride, and I'm sure Tyler Reddick is the most upset out of all 3 of those guys because he was en route he's en route to win a race there.
Yeah, I do feel like this, and you're going to talk more about the other playoff contenders, but I do feel like this is his last chance this upcoming Sunday in Homestead to get that win. We're just going to have to see and then wait what happens, but let's dive on into some final thoughts and wrap up this program.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Our final thought segment is in the air. Mr. Dalton Hopkins, whatever you want to rant, rave, or anything in between, my friend, the floor is yours.
Yeah, we were talking before we started recording, and we both talked about what we wanted as our final thoughts, and you said what you wanted, and I was like, oh man, I want that. But I'm gonna let you talk about that. I'll talk about somebody else in the playoffs right now, and that is somebody that I picked to win the championship, and that is Denny Hamlin. I think out of the 8 guys right now, that I feel like if I were to pick somebody in the top 8 in the round of 8 that I felt like just does not have the drive or the means to win this championship, it's Denny Hamlin, which is so ironic to me because he's the one that has been the most snake bitten when it comes to the playoffs. He's the one that's had the most or the least amount of luck when it comes to winning a championship. And I truly believe the guy deserves one at this point. But he doesn't seem like he's all there. He has not been performing the way that I feel like this 11 team should be, which is, again, very weird, for a Joe Gibbs Racing team, especially, considering that he's one of the last 2. He's made it this far, but again, that's because he won a bunch of races in the regular season. And even he himself on his podcast said that he was surprised that he made it this far. So when your guy is saying that, and even a few weeks ago, remember the comments of, yeah, I just don't have the drive right now. And then at Atlanta at the beginning, he said, I only was going for 20 points, and that's it. It's like, that is not a racer's mentality. So look, I know that there is a big story going on with him with the lawsuit and everything that's going on with 2311 and NASCAR. And I have to believe there is some kind of distractions there. I talked to Tyler Reddick earlier this week, on Friday or Saturday, and I said, hey, could this be a distraction for you guys? And he said, you cannot let it be. And I think, surprisingly, he needs to say that to his own boss. He needs to say that to Denny Hamlin and say, you cannot let this be a distraction. You have to go out there and be Denny Hamlin, and be the guy that you were back in the spring, back in the early season. So, I just, as of right now, I'm not seeing it. And Martinsville, supposedly we're going to have the same tire we had at Bristol. We saw what he did at Bristol, back in the spring Bristol. We saw what he did at Bristol. He won that race. He's been very good at Homestead. He's got 3 wins at Homestead in his past. He's got some opportunities. He's got a chance here. I think he's got the best opportunity to win out of the bottom 4. But is he the same guy as he was in previous time? And I don't think he is.
Yeah. When I went on social media Sunday night after the race, heading home, I saw so many people I apologize, Trey, but so many people were bitching, and they were bitching about how Logano was in the Final Four. He was 15th in points, blah, 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 blah. Why are we bitching, folks? This happens in all sports. 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks, they were 84-78, and they went to the World Series. You know why? Because they got in. All you have to do is get in. The New York Giants in Super Bowl XLVI, they were 13-7. They ended up getting the job done. Hell, even in college basketball, Butler, 2010, they went to the national championship game against Duke. This is not a NASCAR problem. This happens in all sports. It's called what people like to call a Cinderella story. And sure, if this was, let's say, Chase Briscoe, this would probably be a different story because people like Chase Briscoe. People don't like Joey Logano. It's obvious. Whether it's his attitude, his just demeanor, whether it's people don't like Team Penske, I don't know. But everybody was bitching about this. And let's be real. Sure, he had to have some help. Did the Arizona Diamondbacks have to have some help? Sure. But guess what? They had some help. Did Butler get into a good region and not have to face some of the big dogs? Sure. Did the Giants have favorable matchups? Sure. I mean, that's what sports is. Sports is you find ways to get the job done. For Joey Logano on that 22 team, he got the job done. Sure, it may not be the normal, the regular way. Sure, he may not have the most incredible stat line. Sure, he may have had to have 5 overtimes to win in Nashville. But he did. He went to Atlanta and won. It wasn't his fault Bowman got DQ'd. He was in the right place at the right time. And it wasn't his fault Christopher Bell went into pit road and thought that the 22 couldn't survive, 70 or so laps on fuel. All you have to do is find a way to win. And for Joey Logano, he found a way to win. And guess what? It's an even year. He's going to championship 4.
And I'm sorry, I gotta add more to that. I know it's like we gotta do our
go for it, buddy. Go for it.
I really appreciate it. Like I cannot hold my tongue on this. Like AJ Allmendinger hasn't won a single race the entire year, and then he wins at Las Vegas, and suddenly he's the best story, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, what a great story! Oh, we're so happy for him. We're so happy for Kaulig. Oh my gosh, wow!" And then Joey Logano, who has won twice before Las Vegas this year, goes out and wins, and suddenly, these playoffs are so illegitimate. Oh, I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. Like, why the double standard? It's like, just admit you just don't like Joey Logano. Like, just stop it already. Oh, and by the way, you don't believe Joey Logano should be in the championship 4? Brian, do you think that Tyler Reddick was a favorite to go into the championship 4 this year?
No.
Let me ask you that. You don't think so? All right, I thought so. I thought so. Let me ask you that. That's okay, because I thought so, and I think a lot of other people did.
Okay.
How many wins does Tyler Reddick have this year?
He has 2.
2. How many wins does Joey Logano have now?
I think he has 3.
3 wins. He has more wins than Tyler Reddick. He has more wins than
Denny Hamlin.
Chase Elliott. He has more. He's got more. Yeah, like he's got 3 wins. Like he's there. He got the opportunity, and he would have gotten 4 if it weren't for the whole debacle with Austin Dillon at Richmond. So,
I mean, he's tied for the second most wins of the season behind Kyle Larson.
Yeah, it's like, why the double standard?
People just don't like Joey Logano, and they're not willing to admit it. And I mean, we just see right through their bullshit. And Trey's gonna get mad at me because he's gonna have to beat. He's gonna have to beat through this. Yeah, he's be like, "God damn it, Brian, you son of a bitch!" Damn, there's more.
Now he's really gonna have to curse you out.
We're gonna get a text tomorrow morning, Dalton, on our group chat. Really, Brian? Really? I'll be like, well, listen, this is what happens, okay? When you're not here to be the producer and you have to produce Liberty Football, who's playing Kennesaw State, and this is what happens. So you win some, you lose some, but what happens when Dalton Hopkins comes on the program? We all win, my friend. It is so good to have you back. What are you going to be cooking up on frontstretch.com? And I think, are you back to your regularly scheduled column, or is that a 1-week hiatus before you're back next week?
Very close. Yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-week hiatus. This week I was originally planned to not be writing this weekend, and now it looks like I would be able to, but I've decided to go on vacation anyway, so I will not be in town. So Caleb's going to be handling that, which is great because Caleb has been doing a fantastic job this whole year since I've been gone. But I will be doing thinking next week when we go to Martinsville, and of course I'm also on happy hour every single week. So, but that's probably what's going to be when I close out the season.
I love it, and just I want to give a little shout out to Jeff Block. We went to the tweet up on Sunday, and really cool what Jeff did. He brought Dalton up and told everybody Dalton's story and everything, and then even mentioned it in the teardown. Even with a little slight dig to me, but hey, that's okay. Man, I know.
I felt so bad. I was like, good Lord, Brian's even getting crap on the teardown now.
It's like every single, whether it's stock car scoop, whether it's happy hour. I mean, happy hour especially, I get that almost every week. Surprisingly, not this week though. I listened to it this afternoon. Great episode.
We'll lay off. We gotta lay off. You're getting it from Jeff Glock. It's gotta stop, man.
I know. But big thanks to Jeff for supporting everything and what Dalton did, and we're definitely happy Dalton is back. But big thanks to Trey Lau for producing this great program. Big thanks to everybody that supports this show. Coming up next on the Front Stretch Podcast Network, Through the Gears. My man Tino's got all the latest betting odds on Homestead. Maybe a little spoiler, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, or Kyle Larson. I know, going out on a limb right there. And then, like always, you can catch post-race with Stock Car Scoop. And then, like Dalton said, happy hour every single Tuesday here on the Front Stretch Podcast Network. For Mr. Dalton Hopkins, Trey Lau, I am Brian Timothy Donahue. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk with you guys next week.
What's up? Michael Massey here, frontstretch.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.